So one of the typical things that I hear from people is Slack is overwhelming me. We use Slack, it could be Microsoft Teams, it could be. And so if I hire a leader and the thing that they're most proud of is something that they themselves have created and delivered, then I have a big, big question mark towards, are they a fit for this role?
10 people or 8 people in this board meeting, what happens? Who is
So what happens is actually
taking the notes? And
the meeting starts before the meeting.
Right.
And so one of the key areas where we see potential to improve and where there's tremendous pain is preparation for the meeting.
Welcome to the Productized podcast, where we explore the minds of the most innovative entrepreneurs and leaders in product management and design. And for our listeners, take the opportunity also to learn a little bit more about product topics from over 25 speakers and trainers at our upcoming Productized Conference 2024 here in Lisbon, where I am at the moment. It's going to be October 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, and tickets with summer discount, that's 20% off, are now available at www.productized.co. We hope to meet you there. And we're almost sold out of all access, so if you want to go to the workshops, be fast. Today, my guest is Nina Schneider, the Chief Product Officer at Sherpany and a product management leader specialized in enterprise, B2B, and go-to-market. Nina has extensive experience in driving product innovation and transforming organizational processes. And last but not the least, Nina is also a curator of the Productized Conference. And it's great to have you with us today, Nina. I finally get to do this. It's been due for a while.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here, Andre.
Yeah, great to get to know you a little bit better as well. I must say that I'm very curious myself on how this conversation will go. But before we dive in, let's start with a couple of, chill questions. I know you're kind of a productivity geek. What's your favorite app right now, or even any specific strategy you want to share with us?
For productivity?
Yeah, I mean, productivity, organizing your life, your time. I know you're always super busy, but you get to cram a podcast recording right now. So, how do you organize your agenda, or do you have a specific app for that? Also, Sherpany itself could be considered kind of a productivity stack. So, what is your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I'm not going to do commercials for Sherpany, but if someone is interested to run great meetings, they can reach out to me after the podcast. Actually, I'm going to go with super old school calendar. So I am a big fan of having everything that I have to do in my calendar. So no separate to-do apps or any lists that kind of pile up, but everything planned as appointments in my calendar. And then within those appointments, I actually also have everything that's relevant for me to know and understand. Just as an example, for this podcast, I had a blocker in my calendar to prepare. And then in there, it was like the outline that you had sent me that was relevant for this.
All right, so time boxing.
Yes. And if there's no time in boxes in my calendar, it means I need to move or say no to stuff.
All right. Okay. And I also know that you are into multi-sports. So my question, I mean, specifically triathlon, my question is more, how do you, well, I don't know. Can you tell us a little bit about your training routine? Do you have like specific time slots on your calendar, or maybe favorite drills and plans that you go through?
Yeah, sure. So, indeed, I have my trainings also in my calendar. Now, someone else prepares them for me. I've started last month to work with a coach who prepares my training schedule. And I have agreed with him how much time I can and want to dedicate. to training. And if my week looks different than a regular week, where I have kind of like, I have days in which I do the different sports that kind of work for me, then I will let him know, and then the schedule is adapted. Um,
You let him know, or you share your calendar with him so
no,
he.
no, I let him know, like, next week, this is how it looks like.
Mhm.
And then I get a different kind of training plan. And the time slots, they vary. I like the mornings a lot. I like not getting up, but I like being up early in the morning, and especially for the runs and biking. It's really nice to have done that and have seen the sunrise in the morning with it. And in summer, also swimming outside is really nice.
Absolutely. And of course, some people might not know this, but you are based in Switzerland. Where are you in Switzerland at the moment?
So at the moment, I'm in Zurich.
Mhm.
Wednesdays are my days that I come to Zurich, and the rest of the time, I'm based south of Switzerland in Ticino, south of the Alps.
Right, which I guess it's a great place to go for a run early in the morning and go for a bike.
Yes, yes, we have
Absolutely.
beautiful places that we can go.
Great. So, Nina, your career in product management is nothing short but remarkable. Can we begin maybe by discussing what inspired you to enter this field and how your professional journey has progressed? So, you actually got into product in the first place.
Yeah. So I did not intend to go to product when I entered in product. It wasn't something that was as popular, I would say, as it is today.
Hmm.
And I came to product through more project management and taking the opportunity to work at the time with a startup that was doing software for banks. And I was managing the strategic projects together with the CEO.
Hmm.
And I received topics that I kind of dove into, structured, and then handed over to be operationalized. And the last one they gave me is do something about product management. When I say they, it's the CEO and the CTO at the time. And that's where I kind of started to dive into this world, and I found it fascinating. And I wanted to do more and more of it. And the journey started a bit with discovering Scrum and becoming the first product owner of the company, and then realizing that um, I wanted to go deep in development, but then I was a bit drowning in the backlog, working with lots of developers and wanting to do more discovery, and then also add more value from the business perspective, and then growing the team and hiring product managers. And my journey today is in a place where I love to work in product because I get to work with people who have different mindsets. So I love this combination of people who are engineers, who are designers, creatives, and also the business perspective.
Hmm.
And I have wanted to become a diplomat before going into product management, and I
Oh,
feel
really?
my role as a leader in product has been a lot similar within an organization, but even bridging bridges and building relations and being a bit of a diplomat with customers and inside the organization with sales and marketing and customer success together with product.
All right, so you're now leading Sherpany's product team, and as the chief product officer at Sherpany, you lead a diverse team across multiple functions. Can you share some insights on how you manage such a wide ranging of responsibilities and ensure this cohesive teamwork across product management, design, engineering, and probably more? So you said you kind of used the metaphor of the diplomat. How does that actually work in practice?
Yeah, so I think so. The context probably that's valuable or to understand is like size wise, we're about 60 people in product, and product at Sherpany that I'm responsible for includes product management, design, engineering, but also operations and security. And I also have customer experience and branding and product marketing, who recently like got shaped under this umbrella. To your question, I see my role as ensuring three main things. So the first one for me is create clarity of direction, like where
Hmm.
do we want to go, and that is like vision and strategy. So clear goals and um, knowing that this direction is understood is one part of the job. The second part of the job for me is to create the environment for people to thrive. And when I say thrive, I mean to be successful in achieving goals and be happy and satisfied by doing that. And the third part for me is selecting the right leaders who work with me to direct this organization. I know that might sound very high level. I don't know if you have more concrete questions that you would like to know from me.
Yeah, I mean, let's take this last part, which is selecting people, arguably the most difficult part of the job. People is always the most difficult part of the job for lots of reasons. How do you go through this selection process? How do you, um, not necessarily select, but is this something you use as is this a talent that you have to work out people really well and understand how they, the social clues and all that very intangible and hard to grasp aspect of people?
Yeah, I think you mentioned people are is the most difficult part. For me, it's the most beautiful part
Hmm.
also. Um, I would lie if I say I have never made mistakes. I actually learned through also choosing the wrong people. And when I say the wrong people, it means that it's the people who did not fit what the organization needed. I never think that a person is by and of itself, the wrong person, but it's like it's the fit and the match of what you need. Um, when I choose people, I always, and especially if I think about the leaders who support me, is to choose people who are better than me in one of the dimensions or the dimension that I hired them for. So, very
Hmm.
concretely, one of the key hires that I made 2 years ago was a VP of engineering. So, I had taken over the responsibility also for engineering inside of Sherpany from the previous CTO. And there it was very clear for me that I needed someone that was better than I was on the engineering side. That was easy because I'm not an engineer. But then
Hmm.
I also wanted someone that was better than me at leading and managing engineers. And I found that person. And how does the process look like? I do have conversations, but then I involve also the organization in choosing people. And before going into the process, I try to create a lot of clarity on what are the expectations
Hmm.
for this person. And that also materializes in what's the expectation. What do I want this person to achieve in 3, 6, 9 months when they
Hmm.
come on board? And with that clarity, it's easier to choose the person, but it's also easier to let the person choose us, because if I can tell them here's what we expect and here's what I can offer and here's how the situation looks like and be very transparent about that, I think it's as much me choosing the person as it is the person choosing to work with us
Hmm.
and with me then.
And where do you open the book? Is this part of, I guess, not the job description, but is this part of the interviewing process, or?
Yes. So one of the things that I do, for example, is that when I do interviews, I reserve half of the time that the person gets to ask questions to me
Hmm.
and to the organization, and half of the time that I have question. And I learn as much from the questions that they have as I do from the questions that I do. And I do open the book. So um, everything that I would share with an employee of Sherpany, I typically also share with this process. Of course, things that are strictly confidential are not being shared already during the hiring, but I will be transparent about challenges we have, and I will answer questions openly and honestly when I get them
Hmm.
in this
What would
process.
would red flags be for you in this part of the interview? So people maybe not asking questions, or maybe not, opening themselves too much? What do you think are um, traits or social clues that for you give you a feeling that this is probably not a good fit for this culture, or not a good fit, a good fit to work within this organization or with you specifically?
So one of the places where I get red flags often is I ask very openly people, what is one thing you're proud of
Hmm.
from your career and experience until here that you want to share? And what is one thing that you failed at?
Hmm.
And can you share more about that? And in both ways, I find red flags. And a red flag does not have to be that, like for example, the classic, like they don't admit mistake, that rarely happens, but it's more like, what is the mistake they're talking about that
Hmm.
gives me the red flag, or what is the thing that they're proud of that they're
Hmm.
talking about? So if I hire a leader and the thing that they're most proud of is something that they themselves
Hmm.
have created and delivered, then I have a big question mark towards, are they a fit for this role, right? In the same way, when a product manager will say that they're proud of, I don't know, overcoming some problem, or like delivering something. And when I ask about the outcomes, they don't have any notion of what the result was, or and maybe they didn't get to measure the results, but they know that this is something that they would have wanted and they would get to. So it's not that I typically don't give up on people super fast, but those are the moments where I see red flags. So what are they proud of, or what is the mistake that they talk about, and how does that fit with kind of what I need for the role and where I would like them to thrive and be successful at?
Hey, summer adventurers, we hope your summer is as bright as today's episode. Before we get back into our fascinating discussion, we've got some exciting news to share. Do you want to elevate your product management skills? Then don't miss the Productized Conference 2024 happening from October 2nd to the 4th. It's going to be epic. Imagine this: top notch workshops, insights from industry leaders, and a vibe that's bursting with innovation. Trust me, you won't want to miss it. So while you're enjoying the summer breeze in this episode, make sure to grab a ticket. We've got a fantastic summer sale offering 20% off, but only until July 31st. All access tickets are nearly sold out, so act fast. And let's create unforgettable moments in Lisbon at Productized 2024. See you there. And of course, inside the work environment you have at the moment, which is a remote first work environment, if I'm not
Hmm.
mistaken,
Yes,
how
correct. Yeah.
how do you maintain productivity in such a remote work environment? And is there anything specific that you are looking into the hires that you're doing for the company that would help you sustain that kind of productivity in this in such a work environment?
Yeah. So I find that productivity, I mean, depends how you define like productivity, but I think just amount of hours worked has never been a problem as much as engagement, ease, and um, I think with engagement, then also like getting to results or collaborating towards results in this environment, I find more challenging. And what I look for definitely is that people are willing and want to work in this setup. It's not for everyone,
Hmm.
that's for sure. And another thing that is important is that they have um, a willingness to open up. In like the interviews we do are remote as well,
Hmm.
and if someone talks to me about all the time, like we need to meet face to face, and can I onboard face to face, and how often do we meet face to face, and so on,
Hmm.
that is kind of like an alert for me to say, look, like we need to build relationships and we need to get to know each other and we need to open to each other in a remote setup, in meetings, and in asynchronous communication. And if that's not something that they're comfortable with, then we will have a challenge. We do meet face to face, and face to face is part of making remote work. I just think that if the person kind of already in the hiring process is putting a lot of emphasis on it and asking how often. And when I share how often, they're not comfortable with it, that would mean that it probably is not a good match.
Hmm. And what about the maintaining the productivity levels in a remote work environment? So inside the team, is there any kind of hack or system or trade or culture that you seek um, to get this remote work environment to work?
I think I would start with, it's no hack, but it's like a team, remote or not.
Hmm.
Like, and I'm working with the five dysfunctions of a team kind of model, where you have the pyramid, right? And trust is at the bottom, and then you have the different levels to
Hmm.
go through. And that is true as much, if not even more so, for remote teams as it is for physical teams. I think when you work remote, some of these things become more apparent. But it's the same for both. Like, you need to work on creating trust and creating a team that can rely on each other, and that you know is willing to commit to have shared results. Now, the second part for me is, how do you digest the amount of asynchronous noise that is going on in the organization without burning out.
Hmm.
So, one of the typical things that I hear from people is, Slack is overwhelming. We use Slack. It could be
Exactly.
Microsoft Teams, it could be, and
Yeah.
so, like, helping people find the routine that works for them to deal with the overload of asynchronous information that is being shared, because it's key that you, in a remote setup, that you work asynchronously, but then how does that fit with your work routine, and how do you get focused work that works with that, and what's the expectation in SLAs to react to Slack messages? That's one of the things that I've um, brought up and worked with a lot of people in the company. And I don't think there's a one size fits all solution, but it's important to be able to manage that working
But
remote.
do you have a specific SLA for answering Slack yourself?
Um, for me, it's same day, but same day giving, like, reacting. It
Mm,
doesn't mean that I solve.
right.
So, and what I will do is,
Acknowledging.
I will let you know, hey, I read it, I put it in my calendar, and because I have my time boxes, next Wednesday, I will work on it. Is that okay? So, a same day kind of reaction is
Hmm.
what I go for. And then that you manage the expectation of when this is going to be solved on the other side.
Amazing. So, you've been instrumental in shaping Sherpany's product strategy for the past few years. Can you tell us maybe a story of strategic decision that you were involved or made that significantly impacted the product's direction? And before that, of course, I think it's important people understand a little bit what kind of product is this, what is being used for, and by whom.
Yeah, so the product, as you mentioned, it could be considered as part of the productivity suite. Specifically, it's helping leaders to improve the efficiency and effectiveness of their meetings.
Hmm.
And even more specifically, we work with leaders at the top of the organization. So, boards and executive teams use our product to manage the whole meeting process. So, from before to during to after the meeting, and to get nudged or supported with meeting best practices along the journey. When you ask me about an important strategic decision, one of the things that I've seen in the previous company and also at Sherpany, that where I see my diplomacy coming in as well, is actually at the edge of where product sits. So, aligning the organization on how we go to market. What is our ideal customer profile? What are the use cases or meeting types we support? What are the buying personas and the users? Like, what are the jobs to be done to solve for the product? Ultimately results out of our company being super clear and aligned on how we go to market with the product. So I've been a driver of aligning the go to market strategy within organizations. And at Sherpany, it's been several iterations of getting more specific and more focused at doing that. And the more I've done that, the clearer the strategy has become from the perspective of product as well. Where do we focus on? And then ultimately also being better at delivering on the expectations on that end.
Hmm. Um, and just trying to summarize a little bit what you said. So you take a persona or a user first approach to what a product should be doing. Um, and if I understand right, this product is going to be used by what kind of companies? Are we talking mostly like bigger companies, or are they in a specific vertical or more tech companies? I guess this is also a very Swiss problem to have. I mean, I've never really heard about any comparable product out there. So, who are you competing with against?
So there were a few questions in there. So let's start with the last one. Who are we
Right.
competing
Who are you
against?
competing against with?
Yes, exactly. So there's actually a market for board portal solution.
Hmm.
So boards across the world have a solution in place to manage our meetings. Our biggest competitor or the largest competitor in the market is an American company called Diligent. There's a Canadian French player that is called Dilitrust. So those are our main competitors when it comes to addressing boards and improving their meetings. What I consider our biggest competitor then within the organization to the meeting productivity topic is actually, as it's typical in B2B, do nothing or use the Microsoft suite that you have in place. So
Hmm.
don't go for a dedicated solution. To your second question, who are the companies we are targeting? I used the terminology ideal customer profile.
Right.
So, one of the things we have done driving this clarity and go to market is actually find out what are the customers who are the sweet spot for us to offer our
Hmm.
solution. And that has led us to define a set of industries. So, we talk about regulated industries,
Hmm.
company size by number of employees, it's more than 1,000 employees, and certain parameters that make it a sweet spot for us to enter and offer our solution. And this is when a company is changing fast. So changing fast, it could be growing, doing mergers and acquisitions, being publicly listed, going through a new funding round. So
Hmm.
those are all moments where there's a change happening in the board and executive teams,
Hmm.
and there's higher expectations to what how efficient and effective their meetings work, and that's a sweet spot for us to offer
Hmm.
our solution.
How did you find this ideal customer profile? Did you do quantitative analysis through your data to find, oh, people are.
We did, yeah, we did both. So we put together a team with from marketing, customer success, and product customer
Mhm.
experience, and they crunched numbers and data to look at the past. But then we also did qualitative interviews, and last but not least, we are continuously monitoring the success that we have going to market with this ideal customer profile. So we, it's as advanced that we now have a score, like with
Mhm.
all of these criteria, and a score above 6 is basically the type of companies we target. And what we look at is, are we like, is the win rate of these companies higher or lower, and is the satisfaction once they are customers of us higher or lower, depending on the ideal customer profile score that we have.
What does great customer satisfaction looks like for such a client? Is it because they're using the platform a lot and this is saving them a lot of time? You know, what are your boosters in terms of the product?
Yeah, so I mean, it starts with. I mean, we measure a number of satisfaction criteria. So you have the standard Net Promoter Score, but we
Hmm.
also use look at the satisfaction in the product. So with the satisfaction score that we measure in app, as well as the customer satisfaction. So when we have customer interactions, so there's a number of qualitative feedback we get back from our customer, but then we also measure the meeting value score. So we have an own algorithm to assess how productive a meeting is when it runs on Sherpany. And
Mm.
so those customers that we consider are happy and satisfied are getting the most value of our product, not just by what they tell us how satisfied they are, but also by how productive the meetings are that they run on Sherpany and how we can measure that.
All right. So, um, given the rapid advancement in technology, how do you ensure Chirpany's meeting management software stays ahead of the curve, ahead of not just these competitors that you spoke about, but also continues to meet the evolving needs of its users? As you know, lots of platforms now are offering Gen AI and auto recap and a number of features that a few years ago would have been basically impossible to offer. How do you see this evolving landscape changing your product?
Yeah, I think so. To the point of how do I ensure we stay on top of trends in general, I think
Hmm.
there it's like really the kind of processes we have in place. And one is the strategic iterations that we do. So on company level, every year we look at our competitors and our competitive positioning, and we also look at the main threats or opportunities we have as a company that we need to
Hmm.
take bets on. And then on a product level, it's more to continuously gather insights both from our customers as well as from our prospects, and not just reactively with feedback to our product, but we also do exploratory research to understand the pains of our users and what other tools that they're using and so on. Long story short, or yeah, long story short, I think, I mean, definitely last year was a moment where we said, as a company, we need to take a bet, or we need to understand how we can use these new technologies. And we look at it from the perspective of how can we use them to actually improve the value of our solution, where we are solving an existing problem around meetings 10 times better and not 3 times better as we can today. And
Wow.
so
What
we
does
have
a 10 times better meeting looks like?
so there's two ways to say that. Like, one is we want the go-to-market validation of that. So it's just a perceived 10 times better from our
Hmm.
customers. And how do we see that is if they're actually, because one of the big challenges we have today is that our product is considered more of a nice to have than a must have.
Right.
And that correlates then with the wins rates you have. So we say if we have win rates that are 30% better with what we propose with an AI solution as feedback from the market, then we believe it's 10 times better and not just 3 times better.
Hmm.
And the other part is we are actually measuring, remember the product that is like the meeting value score.
Hmm.
So we are going to measure if the efficiency or effectiveness of a task is actually improving. Let me give you a very concrete example
Yeah, I think
because it's
it
still
will be
theoretical,
super
right?
super helpful if people understand the customer journey of the product. So we are in
Yeah.
this board meeting. We have maybe 10 people or 8 people in this board meeting. What happens? Who is
So what happens
responsible
is
for
actually
taking the notes? And
the
and
meeting
yeah,
starts before the meeting.
right.
And that, so one of the key areas where we see potential to improve and where there's tremendous pain is preparation for the meeting. So
Mm,
people are not prepared when they get to the meeting, and then you cannot take decisions, or discussions are long and so on. So one of the places where we look at improving is preparation of the meeting. And so we actually measure how much better people are prepared. And with AI, one example we have is that we can provide summaries to the thousands, sometimes pages that are submitted to prepare for a board meeting.
mm,
And then we measure, are people better prepared, aka have they read the material and have they kind of like done the task. So that's one way to see, have we improved the preparation of the meeting. And another thing that we're doing in that context with AI is that we're actually surfacing past information and data. Because what we know is that people often remember, oh, wait, we talked about this topic, like, but what meeting was it? And I remember there was a slide or a graph, but where is that? And they
Mhm.
try to search for it, but it doesn't come up. And so what we're doing is that we're connecting the dots between everything that happened on this topic in the past, the decisions that were taken, the material that was there, and we're helping people with
Second,
that
a
information.
second brain of the, second brain philosophy of the
Yes,
board meeting.
and how does that materialize? So preparation better means, like, we see people are better prepared because they've read the materials and so on, but then it's like, are more decisions taken in the meeting,
Hmm.
and is the quality of the decisions better? And that's the second dimension of effectiveness or efficiency that you can see, and that we can measure then if meetings improve or not. Then after the meeting, minutes is a pain for a lot of people, and like, obviously you can transcribe the minutes, but then, like, how do you provide qualitative outcome sharing? And it's extracting what are the tasks and decisions out of the meeting, and making sure that what is documented is relevant and sustains audits. With boards, a lot of they need to document what has been said, because if something goes wrong in the company, there can be regulators coming and asking what was discussed and decided in this meeting. And so that at the moment is work that highly paid people within organization, corporate secretaries, are spending on average at least 2 full days to kind of write up and review and make sure they have the right minutes out of a board meeting. And we believe that AI can be a tremendous help. Always in this mindset of co-pilots, I'm using the terminology that Microsoft has coined,
Hmm.
but it's
Hmm.
very important because the pilot remains the person, the
Right.
expert, the board member, the chairperson, the corporate secretary when they run these meetings.
Absolutely. All right. So let's get back to advice for aspiring product leaders. So, with your extensive experience in product management, what advice would you give to aspiring product leaders on leading a product team in a fast-paced, dynamic industry like yours?
I think I would go to the one of the fundamental things that you need to put in place is learning. And you need to do that at all different levels of the organization and with all different time frames. And let me get more concrete. I think you need to have a learning in place on, let's say you have a yearly strategy process. So on the yearly strategy process, then you need to have learning in place on the quarterly results and OKRs. If that's what you're using, then you need to have learning in place more on the iterations that you run for discovery and development. And you need to have learning in place on a team level, on a department level, and on a company level. And so if there's one advice I would give is to have these learning iterations in place in your organization,
Mhm.
and
What
to
do you mean by learning iterations? How do you materialize that? How do you make that more tangible?
yeah, to make it more, I mean, one tool that works very well are retrospectives. You know
Okay.
them, from an agile world. And so one of the jobs that I have, and where I think I add value, is because I host a lot of these retrospectives.
Mm,
So I make sure that we are holding those learning moments, and that we are following up and taking actions out of those.
mhm,
And when it comes to for example, company level, we also do those. So once per quarter, as a management, we check in and we look back. What have we learned from the results we have achieved? Where do we stand with regards to our strategy that we have in place? Do we need to change anything for the next quarter? What are the main challenges and the focus that we have? So also there, I'm actually the one driving or hosting this space. even though like I'm not the main driver, right? I'm supporting the CEO in this, but I'm doing it for the whole product
Hmm.
organization. And I host these learning moments also when teams want to have a retro and they need someone more impartial
Hmm.
to sit in there. So
So
that's a very concrete
they
instrument that you
see
can
you
use.
as a booster of the so-called psychological safety for those retrospects to happen.
Definitely so, because when people then open up and mistakes are shared, what you need to is kind of like, acknowledge and welcome and make sure that happens. The other part of it is I'm also an accountability sponsor for
Mm.
what comes out of this learning, that there's
Mm.
action taken and that this
Okay.
action happens, right? So I think both are needed, the safe space, but then also the accountability and the resources and the enablement from my side that we take
Right.
action and we improve on the things we have learned and we need to change.
Absolutely. I think I did interrupt you. So you were just saying that after those learning moments, learning iterations, there was something else that maybe you wanted to share.
I think, I mean, what you mentioned about for general advice for leaders, I think for me a lot comes down to this learning organization, and the second part you already mentioned, which is the culture to go with
Hmm.
it. So like what I can say is a if you have gotten it right when with the sense of direction and the right environment, you will have happy people who deliver results. So as long as you don't have happy people and or you don't have results or you have either or, there's potential to improve and use the learning iterations to get better at that.
All right. So, before we wrap this up, could you share with us maybe some books you want to recommend? This can be product related or not, but we usually do this question in our podcast.
Yeah, I at the moment I'm all about non-product related books. Is also okay if I
Sure.
share
Absolutely.
those.
Absolutely.
Okay. So one that maybe because I mentioned it before, and I think it's a really nice story. It's easy to read, and it touches on the fundamental to make a team productive. Would be the maybe the five dysfunctions
Hmm.
of a team by Patrick Lencioni. I think it's
Hmm.
spelled.
Yeah, we'll put it in the notes.
Okay. And then I have one that is more of a kind of a book for life from Osho Courage, The Joy of Living Dangerously,
Dangerously. Okay.
which I would recommend as well.
Amazing. Yeah, I think one of the questions we like to do, it's kind of a more personal question, but what is the best professional advice you have ever received in your career?
So I'm going to go with one that is the best from the perspective of it's applicable in so many different areas. And I think it has been such a recurring challenge for me is this, and it's revolving around communication. So, whenever you get feedback that you're not communicating well or well enough,
Hmm.
the advice was start with setting expectations on how often you communicate and where and how you communicate, and then create a consistent pattern around that. And that has helped me in so many different situations, like from the how do we communicate our roadmap as a product team within an organization to how often do I communicate with my leader about a topic that they're interested in
Hmm.
to, how do we communicate with customers on a or like issue and emergency that we have. So going back to what's how often, what channel, how, and then consistency. And if you do that, you will always get the feedback that your communication has improved.
Hmm. Okay, so if you want to say, I mean, you just gave the example of the leader. It's better maybe to have like a jour fix where you go to this leader and you have this communication, and maybe, I don't know, some random email here and there, or is that what you're saying?
I think that the key is that the expectation is actually shared and aligned. So with your leader, basically, it would be, let's say, I don't know, they want to be informed. Also, the
Hmm.
topic of the roadmap. Your leader
Right,
wants to be informed on the roadmap of the product. And so you agree with them. Do you want to be informed on a weekly basis, on a monthly
right.
basis, on, a
So
quarterly
there's
basis?
a
And
negotiation phase.
it's a negotiation phase, and it's also like, how will you be informed? Do you want me to send you an email? Do you want me to share this link with you? Do you want me to do a short video? Do you want me to set up a call for us? And when those two things are agreed, then you just consistently do that, and
Right.
that's where the magic happens.
All right. Speaking about magic, for those that want to reach out to your advice, or just maybe, I don't know, get a call, where can they find you?
They can find me on LinkedIn, and write me there, or at Productized. I will
True.
be there, and I look forward
Exactly.
to meet people.
That's so true. Nina, your insights have been incredibly enlightening. And thank you so much. Thank you so much. I actually I learned a lot myself today, and for sharing your knowledge. And for those listening, like you said, don't forget that Nina will be joining us at the Productized Conference 2024. I mean, Nina was with us last year, 2023, when we were back from COVID. So we hope you find today's discussion as inspiring as we did. Don't forget that for Productized Conference this year, we're going to have an extra day. That's the first day. We call it the Leadership Forum. And Nina, you're going to be there as well with us.
Yes.
So stay tuned for more insights from leaders like Nina in our next episodes and at Productized. Thank you.
Thank you.